He had 4 atrocities done to him to ensure that he died. There was no mercy whatsoever in their hearts. They just wanted him dead, and they killed him as he slept with his 2 young sons. Thus, the life of Sukhjit Singh, described as a devout Sikh, was brutally ended by his wife and her lover. This is the story of Sukhjit Singh and the love triangle his wife was embroiled in that saw Sukhjit murdered at 34.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy, and silently, it could build and build until you finally see.
Hello, I'm so happy to see you again. Thank you for dropping by. Now, I'm recording this in the natural light that is coming through that window over there. So there may be some changes in the light. So please bear with me. Now, coming to today's case, there are a few differences in the facts as reported by different newspapers. I understand that the judge delivered a 75-page judgment, but I have not been able to find the judgment online. As such, I'm not able to verify the few differences in the facts. With that in mind, let's look into today's case. On Thursday, the 1st of September 2016, a man, his wife and their 2 young sons were staying in the man's ancestral home in India where his mother lived. They were visiting from the UK. That evening, the aroma of a home-cooked biryani wafted through the air of the farmhouse. The wife was making it for their dinner. Now, biryani was the man's favorite dish. Its tempting aroma must have made him salivate. The man was Sukhjit Singh, aged 34. His wife was Ramandeep Kaur, aged 31. Their 2 sons were Arjun, aged 9, and Aryan, aged 6. They were staying in Sukhjit's mother's house in a town called Banda in the district of Shah Jahanpur in Uttar Pradesh, a state in the north of India. The house was a double-story farmhouse located in a 20-acre agricultural land. All of them had dinner, went to bed, and fell into a deep sleep. The grandmother, whose name is Vanshkaur, slept on the ground floor while the young family slept in a bed on the first floor of the farmhouse. The next morning, 2nd September 2016, Sukhjit was found in a pool of blood that had soaked into the bed linen. He had been brutally murdered. But who could have done that? There were no strangers in the house. Only Sukhjit's mother, Ramandeep, and her 2 sons were at home. There was nobody else at home. The brutality of the crime shocked the nation. The police commenced their investigations immediately, and it did not take them long to bring Ramandeep Kaur in for questioning. Meanwhile, at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi, a man had checked in for the flight to Dubai. He had gotten his boarding pass and he was waiting to board the plane to Dubai when he was detained by airport security just 30 minutes before his flight took off. His name was Gurpreet Singh and he was the person of interest in Sukhjit's murder. A timely phone call from a Shah Jahanpur police officer had put an end on his attempt to leave the country. The Shah Jahanpur police took custody of Gurpreet and brought him back to Banda. When Ramandeep heard that Gurpreet had been detained, she confessed to the crime. And so did Gurpreet, who made a chilling videotaped confession. With that, the whole story of what happened came right out into the open. Now, who was this young family? Why were they in India, and what led to this bloody murder in her farmhouse in rural Uttar Pradesh? Let's start from the beginning, shall we? That's a good place to start, always. The story begins with two men, Sukhjit Singh and Gurpreet Singh, whose lives became intertwined. Sukhjit was born and grew up in Banda, which was some 600 kilometers from Delhi. Gurpreet Singh was born in Punjab. Both states are in the north of India. Sukhjit's father died in a road accident when Sukhjit was just 10 years old. This tragedy diverted the course of his life. His mother sent him to a boarding school, and when that didn't work out, she enrolled him in a school in a city called Sultanpur Lodi in Punjab. So Sukhjit moved states from Uttar Pradesh to Punjab. As for Gurpreet, he was born in Punjab and was sent by his parents to the same school in Sultanpur Lodi. There, the paths of both Gurpreet and Sukhjit crossed. While attending the same school in Sultanpur Lodi, Sukhjit and Gurpreet lived in a nearby village called Harnampura with their respective relatives. Both Sukhjit and Gurpreet had nicknames. Sukhjit was Sonu, and Gurpreet's was Me Too. A tight friendship grew between Sonu and Me Too as they studied and played together. Soon they became inseparable. By the time Sukhjit finished school after his 12th standard, his sister Kulvinder had married and emigrated to the UK, where she lived in Slough, a town in the county of Berkshire. In 2002, the paths of Sukhjit and Gurpreet diverged. Sukhjit emigrated to the United Kingdom to join his sister's family. Gurpreet left for Dubai to get involved with his family's marble business. The men lost contact and life moved on for them. Sukhjit started working as a driver in Slough. Sometime in 2005, destiny led him to a woman named Ramandeep Kaur. He was probably 23 and she 20 at that time. Ramandeep was born in Slough to her parents Paul Singh Man and his wife Amarjit Kaur, who both worked in a chocolate factory. Ramandeep was the second of 3 children. She grew up in Slough and studied graphic design at the Thames Valley University. Now, it didn't take long for the youngsters to fall in love, and they were married in a Sikh temple in Slough in 2005. Now, apparently, Ramandeep's parents were not happy with her choice of husband, but they attended the wedding anyway. After all, it is their daughter, right? Not long after the wedding, the newlyweds travelled to India to visit Sukhjit's mother, Vansh Kaur, in Banda. There, they stayed with Vansh Kaur in her 2-story farmhouse. They stayed there for nearly 6 months, waiting for some kind of acceptance from Ramandeep's parents. Whether there was acceptance or not, the couple returned to the UK and began their life together. They moved to South London, where they operated a pizza shop in Carshalton. They then moved to Derby, a town in the county of Derbyshire in the English Midlands, where Ramandeep worked as a shop manager in Argos. As an aside, Argos is a catalogue retailer that sells goods in physical stores as well as online. As for Sukhjit, he was obviously an ambitious man because by 2016 he was running a transport company in Derby. Now, the couple had 2 sons, Arjun and Aryan, who were 9 and 6 in 2016. For all intents and purposes, the couple appeared to be happily married. As time went on, Sukhjit could have become more religious because his appearance changed. Once a clean-shaven man who didn't wear a turban, Sukhjit grew a long beard and started to wear a turban. After his death, someone who knew him from the Gurudwara, that is the Sikh temple, said that Sukhjit was a devout Sikh who had been attending the temple every Sunday for the last 8 months. Now back to our story. One day in October 2015, an ecstatic Sukhjit told his sister Kulvinder that he had received a call from his long-lost friend Me Too, that is Gurpreet Singh. Kulvinder remembers the happiness on her brother's face when he said to her, "I found Me Too today." Gurpreet had taken the initiative to obtain Sukhjit's contact details. No time was wasted for a reunion, and Sukhjit and his family went to Dubai in December 2015 at the invitation of Gurpreet. It must have been a poignant reunion. Two childhood best friends meeting up after 13 years. Sukhjit and his family stayed for 10 days in Dubai. They had a whale of a time with Gurpreet showing them the sights of Dubai. During this trip, something else also happened. Unbeknown to poor Sukhjit, Gurpreet and Ramandeep became quite close to each other, and it is said that an affair started between them on that Dubai trip. After the Dubai trip, the liaison between the two continued through texts and phone calls. Apparently, Ramandeep was unhappy in her marriage. What the outside world saw was just a facade that fooled not only their friends and acquaintances, but even Ramandeep's family, who would later insist that they were very happily married. According to an acquaintance, Ramandeep didn't like Sukhjit's beard and mustache. She wanted him to look like this and not like this. During questioning, Ramandeep told police that she had asked Sukhjit to give her a divorce, but he didn't want to because he didn't want to end the marriage. According to Gurpreet's videotaped confession, when Ramandeep visited Dubai with her family in December 2015, she complained to him that Sukhjit took drugs and physically abused her. Sorry about the dog, my neighbor's dog. So sorry. Gurpreet became close to Ramandeep because she confided in him, and they continued talking after they left Dubai. Gurpreet said that he would save her if he could. In any event, after the Dubai trip, life carried on, but not without Ramandeep's mind being filled with nefarious thoughts. Soon, she plotted with Gurpreet to kill Sukhjit. In his confession, Gurpreet also said that he colluded with Ramandeep to kill Sukhjit. According to him, the idea to murder Sukhjit was Ramandeep's because she couldn't take his drug and physical abuse anymore. She told him incessantly that she wanted to die because of Sukhjit's behavior. It did not take long for both Ramandeep and Gurpreet to plot Sukhjit's murder. The pair decided to kill Sukhjit in India because they figured that they could get away with murder in India by bribing the relevant authorities. So, fortified in this belief, Ramandeep, who appears to be the villain of the piece, executed the first part of her plot. She persuaded the unsuspecting Sukhjit to agree to a long holiday in India, telling him that it will give him a chance to visit his mother in his ancestral home. She also told Gurpreet to arm himself with a knife and hammer when they do the dastardly deed. On 20th July 2016, Sukhjit, Ramandeep and their sons Arjun and Aryan flew to India. They were met at the New Delhi airport by Gurpreet Singh, who drove the 600 km to Sukhjit's ancestral home in Banda, where his mother Vansh Kaur lived. After a few days in Banda, the family, together with Gurpreet, went on a fortnight sightseeing tour visiting parts of India. They all returned to Banda sometime in the middle of August, and their intention was to spend the rest of the vacation in Banda. They were joined by Ramandeep's parents, who were visiting Sukhjit's ancestral home for the very first time. On 22nd of August, Gurpreet said that he was returning to his house in Punjab, some 965 kilometers away, and Ramandeep's parents said they were leaving for a relative's house. Now, there was just Sukhjit, his family and his mother in the house during the tail end of their vacation. On Thursday, 1st of September, Ramandeep suggested to Vansh Kaur that she would make biryani for the family dinner that night. Biryani was her husband's favorite dish. This was the first time ever that Ramandeep had suggested cooking in her kitchen, and Vansh Kaur was happy to let her cook. The family ate the biryani dinner, went to bed, and soon fell into a deep sleep. In his videotaped confession, Gurpreet said that Ramandeep called him at about 6 p.m. 5 or 6 p.m. on the day of the murder and asked him to come to the house at about 10 or 10:30 p.m. She asked him to bring the hammer and knife with him. Now, Gurpreet ordered a taxi and asked to be dropped off on the main road. He then walked to Sukhjit's house, where he was greeted by Ramandeep. They both went upstairs to the family's designated bedroom. Ramandeep straddled Sukhjit and started to smother him with a pillow. When Sukhjit started to struggle, Ramandeep asked Gurpreet to hit Sukhjit's head with the hammer. Gurpreet took out the hammer and hit Sukhjit's head twice with the hammer. Ramandeep said that Sukhjit was still not dead. She then handed the knife to Gurpreet, who slit Sukhjit's throat. Gurpreet then left Sukhjit's house and took a train to Delhi. He purchased a ticket to Dubai and was waiting in New Delhi airport to board the plane to Dubai when he was detained by the airport security and brought back to Bandar by the Shah Jahanpur police. Now, apart from these confessions, the police had collected enough evidence against both Ramandeep and Gurpreet, including the murder weapons, WhatsApp conversations between Ramandeep and Gurpreet, CCTV footage from the hotel where Gurpreet stayed, and statements from the hotel staff. The police also had a statement from the taxi driver who drove Gurpreet to the vicinity of Sukhjit's house. In due course, police prepared charge sheets against both Ramandeep and Gurpreet, charging them both with murder and for criminal acts done by several persons in furtherance of a common intention. Gurpreet was charged additionally under the Arms Act 1959. In the meanwhile, back in the UK, Ramandeep's parents applied for custody of the two children who were staying with Sukhjit's mother since their father died. Notice of the application was given to Sukhjit's mother, who was very upset over it. When she was contacted by reporters, she said that Ramandeep's parents did not care for the children. Apparently, they were in India when Sukhjit was murdered, but they didn't attend Sukhjit's final rites, although they were invited, and they left for the UK on the 3rd of September without even visiting the children. The court in England gave Vansh Kaur temporary custody for 2 weeks until Ramandeep's parents' application was heard in the presence of both parties. After a hearing, the UK court granted custody of the children to Kulvinder Kaur, who is Sukhjit's sister, and her husband. Ramandeep applied for bail sometime in September 2016 before the Chief Judicial Magistrate upon grounds that she is a victim of a conspiracy by Sukhjit's family to frame her because they wanted to take over property that belonged to Sukhjit. Further, she said she was forced to confess by the police and that the police have absolutely no evidence against her. Her application was dismissed. Ramandeep applied for bail to the additional sessions court, which was also refused. Ramandeep then applied to the Allahabad High Court, which is the High Court for the state of Uttar Pradesh. She applied there for bail and succeeded on the ground that the police, despite having a witness, failed to name the witness in their charge sheet. Sukhjit's family then said that they would apply to the Supreme Court, which is the apex court of India, to revoke Ramandeep's bail because they were afraid that she would come and harm Vansh Kaur, Sukhjit's mother. We don't know if they ever did it or if their application was refused because it was reported that Ramandeep was actually out on bail until her murder trial. As for Gurpreet's bail application, he was also refused bail by the Chief Judicial Magistrate and the Additional Sessions Court, and finally he was granted bail by the Allahabad High Court sometime in 2017. However, his bail was revoked sometime in February 2018 because his bailer withdrew his name as bailer. With his bail revoked, Gurpreet was returned to prison to await his trial. According to one of Sukhjit's cousins, Ramandeep, who was out on bail, was living in New Delhi with a man, and Gurpreet was very unhappy about this. At the murder trial of Ramandeep and Gurpreet, it was the prosecution's case that Ramandeep and Gurpreet, who were lovers, had conspired while they were in UK and Dubai respectively to kill Sukhjit in India. Ramandeep wanted to get rid of Sukhjit and ride off into the sunset not only with Gurpreet but also with a cool £2 million life insurance payout on Sukhjit's life. Apart from that, apparently she also stood to get 2 houses in the UK that Sukhjit owned, together with £100,000 that was in his account. Further, Sukhjit had refused to divorce her, so many good reasons for murder, isn't it? Well, Ramandeep sure thought so, as did Gurpreet. So on 1st of September 2016, Ramandeep added sleeping pills to the biryani that she cooked to make sure that the entire family would be fast asleep when she and Gurpreet killed the highly sedated Sukhjit. There is evidence of numerous phone calls between Ramandeep and Gurpreet on the day of the murder. Ramandeep's defense was that she was coerced by the police into confessing and she was framed by Sukhjit's relatives for the murder. According to her, Sukhjit had planned to sell his property in India and use the money in the UK, but his relatives were opposed to that because they wanted the property for themselves. As such, they killed him and framed her for the murder. That's her defense. Now, the murder plot between Ramandeep and Gurpreet was revealed through the confessions and corroborated by witnesses, but the key witness for the prosecution who actually sealed Ramandeep's fate was her own son Arjun, who in 2023 was 17 years old. You see, Arjun was an eyewitness to the murder. Oh yes, he was. On that fateful night his father was killed, Arjun wasn't hungry, and so, unknown to his mother, he ate very little of the biryani. He was therefore not in a deep sleep. According to his testimony, he was awakened by the sounds of struggling. He opened his eyes. He saw his mother straddling his father, who was lying on the same bed. He didn't make a sound, and he watched in horror as the scene unfolded before his eyes. His mother was pressing a pillow on his father's face. His father was struggling for breath. He then saw Uncle Meetu in the room. His mother told Uncle Meetu to hit his father on the head with a hammer. Uncle Meetu took out the hammer and hit his father's head twice with the hammer. His mother then said, "He's not dead." Uncle Meetu took out a knife. The mother grabbed the knife from Uncle Meetu and slit his father's throat. His father became still as blood oozed out, staining the bedclothes. Horrified, Arjun slid further into his bed covers, quickly closed his eyes and pretended to be asleep. Now, some newspapers say that according to Arjun's testimony, Ramandeep took the knife from Gurpreet and she slit Sukhjit's throat, while other newspapers say that Arjun testified that Ramandeep asked Gurpreet to slit Sukhjit's throat, which he did. As I said before, I have not seen the judgment, so I can't really say what the actual facts were. Now, Arjun told a relative and also his grandmother what he witnessed, prompting Vansh Kaur to file a first information report. This eyewitness account, the confessions, and the rest of the prosecution evidence led the judge to convict both Ramandeep and Gurpreet of murder and for criminal acts done by several persons in furtherance of a common intention. This judgment was made on the 5th of October 2023. Gurpreet was additionally convicted under the Arms Act 1959. Ramandeep was later sentenced to death and Gurpreet to life imprisonment with a fine of 10,000 rupees. He was also given a further 3 years imprisonment for the arms offence. Now, murder is an offence under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code, which says that punishment for murder is death or imprisonment for life and a fine. So it's either death by hanging, or imprisonment for life. While I understand is that the courts will not sentence a person to death because the death sentence is reserved only for the rarest of rare cases. The rule for a serious crime like murder is life imprisonment. The exception is the death penalty. The punishment of death will only be ordered when the circumstances of the crime are highly grave. The phrase rarest of rare has not been defined, but certain guidelines have been made. The court will therefore consider the manner in which the crime was committed, the motive for the murder, if the crime was socially repugnant, whether it was diabolical in its planning, whether the murder was brutal, who the victim is. These are some of the questions which the court will consider to determine if the case is rarest of the rare. In Ramandeep's case, the judge in his 75-page judgment determined that her case was a rarest of rare case and as such deserving of the death penalty. From what I understand, the judge decided that the case was the rarest of the rare because the victim's throat was slit in front of his 9-year-old son. It wasn't just one man who died that day. The murder killed the remaining years of an elderly widow, the childhood as well as the youth of the 2 children, and also killed the children's happiness. The judge also said that the case was the rarest of rare because Ramandeep hurled abuse at her mother-in-law during the trial. This has come under much criticism, with Ramandeep's lawyers saying that although it was true that Ramandeep did hurl abuse at her mother-in-law, it was a ridiculous reason to warrant a case being a rarest of the rare and thus deserving of the death penalty. Sukhjit's family lawyer said that Ramandeep did not show any remorse and was arrogant from the moment she was arrested. Ramandeep's lawyer questions the judgment and has a few issues to argue in Ramandeep's appeal to the High Court. These include the delay of about 6 months to record Arjun's statement, which was done by Skype as the child was already back in the UK. The fact that there has been no proof of a romantic relationship between Ramandeep and Gurpreet. That there was a property dispute between Sukhjit and his relatives. I, however, wonder how they can refute the confessions of both Ramandeep and Gurpreet. Arjun and Aryan now live with their aunt Kulvinder and her family in a 7-bedroom house in the English Midlands. Arjun is 17 and Aryan is 13. They have no love for their mother and can't wait for her to receive her punishment. When interviewed, Arjun said, and I read, "My dad was great, but my mom was bad. And I don't want to see her face ever because she killed my dad in front of my eyes. There are not many children who watch their mother kill their father and then give evidence about it. How do you try to get on with your life after something like this? I've had to be very brave and I'm proud of what I have done because I've got justice for my father. My brother and me don't think of this woman as our mother anymore. She is evil. We want nothing to do with her. As far as I'm concerned, she stopped being our mother when she killed my father." When they asked him what about the sentence that his mother has received, he said, "I would like to be there when it happens. It doesn't fill me with fear. In fact, it will give me a lot of satisfaction and relief, and I look forward to that day. I would like my family to be there." Ramandeep has filed an appeal and is currently languishing in an overcrowded jail in Shahjahanpur that was built during the British rule. She insists that she is innocent and asks for a pardon, saying that she was framed by Sukhjit's family. Gurpreet is also incarcerated in the men's wing of the same prison. Unlike Ramandeep, Gurpreet apparently hasn't appealed his conviction and sentence. Barring a successful appeal, Ramandeep and Gurpreet have a long time to reflect upon their ill-fated, illicit relationship, greed and folly. That's it from me today. Thanks for your time. Until I see you again with another video, take care, be vigilant and be kind.